Another thing I was fascinated with this particular piece was the shadow.
Let's start a little bit with the origin story, so to speak, which, so often origin stories begin with trees. And you've said that, that your vision for this work began with the vision of a tree. Walk us through that process of how does a vision of a tree that you sketch become this beautiful full evening length work? What are those steps to get us there?
Time.
How much time are we talking about?
Almost 2 years. It's been 2 years. Well, it was about 1.5 years 2 years about from the moment I had this idea of making a tree out of string to the premiere at BAM in December.
And how do you take that idea? How do you start making that? How did you decide that that image belonged with this music? How did you decide to bring on Müllerin, who turned it actually into a physical set? Right. At what stage did those elements happen?
Well, so I do a lot of dreaming. I mean, ideas come to you at all different times, and I keep notebooks and I sketch. And so I had this idea for a tree. I sketched it out. I think I first had the big tree, and then I thought, well, no, maybe I did do it in order, that I drew these 5 little trees, which you see in the beginning, and then I thought if the tails were long enough, the roots were long enough, I could tie it together and then spread the roots out at the end. And it's almost literally this picture that I first just drew out, and I even drew the white border and shelves on the side. But I didn't know what I was doing, I just saw it, drew it, left it. And then I had a conversation with Joe Malillo at BAM, who he had wanted to present the company in the Next Wave Festival, and he said what works best at the Fishman Space is an hour to 75-minute work, no intermission, audience comes, sits, and leaves. And he was like, this is what I would like, and I thought, I don't have anything like that, so I'll make something new. And then I went into the Fishman Space and I sat in it and I thought my tree would look really good in here. So I was like, I'm gonna do a piece about a tree, and marketing, they wanna know what's the title and what is your piece about, and I was like, there's gonna be a tree made up of string, and that's all I knew. And so I locked myself away in my apartment over the holidays. And I was like, I can't come out until I know what the music is. And then Google is great, and Googling poetry about trees, music about trees, why is this tree on stage? And I came across Schubert really quickly in the Wintereisen series for the piece first, and that's 90 minutes, and that's been done, that's been choreographed. And quickly I came across Die schöne Müllerin, and I had drawn a brook or a path. I didn't know what it was. And then I read the first lines. There's a journeyman wandering through the woods. He comes across a brook, and it leads him to the mill. And I was like, this is it. This is my ballet. And I looked at the timing. I quickly looked up iTunes and how long it was. And it's 65 minutes. And I was like, I'm done. I can have a Christmas. and I quickly named it The Wanderer. And then I let it sit and marinate. And then we started to create it about 9 months later after I made that decision to pick the music.
And Tyson, can you tell us about the music? Can you tell us why is this song cycle such a great and classic example of the form of Lieder, and why was Franz Schubert such a master in that form?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have avoided this cycle. I'm 37. And I've avoided this cycle for 37 years because it's difficult. It's a big undertaking. The reason that it's difficult, I think, is because so many people put it up on a pedestal, and I first of all had to remove myself from that. You just have to do what you have to do, and the reason that the piece is great, in fact, is because you have almost no means at all. A lot of the pieces are strophic, which means that they have verses. And so it's up to your imagination to create whatever that verse is. So, for instance, in the first piece, I changed the articulation a lot. I'm sure some of you realize that. And I used a lot more pedal in some verses. I used a lot of voicing and everything. And that's essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to mimic the words at all times. And it's very difficult because he gives you nothing. He really gives you the same thing every single time, and it's up to your imagination to figure out what to do and how to make that the most important.
What was it like for you to undertake it for the first time in this context, to be responding to dancers as well as the singer? I mean, there's a lot of visual things going on that's so much more different than when it's just you and the singer.
Very, very different, particularly in the beginning, because I can't watch anything. And so a lot of it in the beginning was Jessica saying, oh, this has to be faster, slower, and I'm thinking, okay, why? And Stephen and I would have these conversations, and he would say, oh, this thing is supposed to be happening here, and this is supposed to be happening here. And I said, I just can't look at it. I have no idea what's going on. So I watched the video after we took video, and I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, so they can't hold that pose for for another half beat. They can't hang themselves in midair.
Is it harder to choreograph like a narrative work with a story arc as opposed to just an abstract work?
I think there's different challenges. Having to create an hour-long work, and if it was just a contemporary, regular piece, I would get lost. You would get lost. You'd probably take a good nap, an expensive nap. I would take a nap. It's scary to just do nothing for an hour, or where is it going? And this song cycle just lends itself. The fear of, that daunting fear of making something so large, I just kept coming back to the sections. Okay, what is number 9? What are we doing in number 9? What is the lyrics? What is the poetry? What do I need to do just in this movement? And then I'd make it and then move on. And so in that sense, it was actually really simple and easy. But I use a lot of what I call craft. And craft is not always in everyone's work. And so to make a regular dance, you'll see, it's so easy to just throw steps up and phrases and tie them together and call it choreography. And I don't believe that's what that is. I think it's really important to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's very much like baking or cooking or making a dinner or writing like an essay or a novel. It has to have a point and a purpose, even if it's contemporary or narrative. And so I use the same kind of elements of craft.
Clifton, question for you. You've had a long, illustrious career dancing contemporary dance with Alvin Ailey, with a founding member of Jessica Lange Dance. The idea of a story ballet, we obviously see a lot in classical ballet, but it's not something that we see a lot of in contemporary dance and contemporary companies, where we see these full evening length works that comprise characters and really follow a narrative all the way through. So what was it like for you in this work to have to embody a character and to kind of go through those emotions and really kind of bring a sense of acting to a role in addition to obviously the physical rigor of it?
I would say it's both a joy and a great challenge. It's the kind of thing that you can sink your teeth into, but also you can easily kind of overplay if you get to enjoying the drama of it for drama's sake from time to time. So it's important to kind of remember the story, to remember, your relationships and whatever intentions you're going for. And a lot of it, I think, is evolution. You make your decisions, you create a backstory for your character, and then in real time when it plays out, sometimes what you thought would feel right doesn't, and you just keep finding new things every night. So in that way, like I said, a joy and a challenge, but from night to night, a different challenge. And I've always loved the challenge of theatrical works and narrative works. I love both, but I think nowadays it's more and more rare that you portray a character or tell an entire story. And this is the first evening length work that I've done. So, and this is the second performance that I've done of it. So, so I'm still finding out a lot, but thanks. But I'm still finding out a lot. So, and it's I feel like a very important and beneficial thing, learning craft. And you don't always have the challenge to do that. But once you have that, you can use it in so many ways. It's like, your toolkit. So, I'm loving it.
Great. Jessica, you have been making work for a long time now, over a dozen years. But it was only a few years ago in 2011 that you decided to form a company. So can you talk a little bit about what that process has been and what the last 4 years have been like for you artistically? Was it everything that you hoped? What have been some of the unexpected challenges and some of the rewards of really being able to focus on your own group of dancers?
I haven't slept in 4 years. I'm exhausted, but invigorated. And I knew what I was getting myself into. I avoided starting a company for 12 years. At the beginning of my career as a dancer, I realized quickly I didn't want to be a dancer. I didn't enjoy that, being that kind of, for a lack of a better word, tool. And I missed the creative process, and I enjoyed best, the best part of a process for me was the creative process as a dancer. But when you're performing, you seem to be doing the same thing. So I quickly realized that young and switched in my career. And then I had a conversation with Benjamin Hark-Harvey, who was my director at Juilliard, and he said, what are you going to do now, when I was thinking of being done with Twyla and being done dancing? And I said, I think I'll start a company. And I had done one piece in school, and he was like, just because you made one good piece once doesn't deserve a company. It was the best advice I ever got. He said, your work can go on a ballet company. Ballet companies need choreographers. Go find your process. Use them. Use their, and see what happens. Find commissions. And so I did that. And I was really happy. And I still am. I'm still freelancing. I'm leaving for Birmingham Royal Ballet in a week and a half with Clifton. We're going to make a new piece. I keep my hand on that, but it inspires me to do more with my company. When I was only a freelance choreographer, when I was only freelancing, I had no home. And now I built that home. I took that kind of dare. And the Pillow has been, Ella Baff and the Pillow has been first and foremost in making this happen, because we debuted here. We've been here 3 times in 4 years, and we created The Wanderer here. I mean, it's just like, I feel like this barn is our home. So it's really nice.
Well, welcome back home.
Weites bisschen meinen Augen stehen, auf meinen Wangen ist das Brennen sehen, zu lesen Vers auf meinem Sturmenmund, ein jeder Atemzug geflaute Grund, wir brauchen Goethes nicht so schnell bleiben.